Rachel Holt for NESN.com alongside Bill Simmons, CEO of The Ringer.
Yeah.
We're here at the BU Sports Communications Summit. You're a graduate of BU, so how's it feel to be
am.
back?
I'm like a fake graduate because I got my master's here, so I didn't put in 4 years, but I put in one really good one. It's great to be, always good to come back to Boston, especially in April when the weather's nice.
It's nice and it's a good time for sports too.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
the Boston sports guy, so what's your...
Well, this was the weekend. The marathon weekend is the best. It's the greatest. It's the only state that gives itself a holiday, which I love. It's always the best when the Celtics and the Bruins are in the playoffs, which when I was here after college, there were years when neither of them were in the playoffs or just one of them. And we would always be like, I remember the 80s when we had two good teams. And now it's drifted back to that era, which is much better, I think.
And they're not just in the playoffs, but they're the #1 seed. How do you
know.
like that matchup with the Bulls?
It's fantastic. The Bulls are not very good. So I was worried that they were going to play Miami because I think Miami was like 30-11 in their last 41 games, which is a 60-win pace. That would have been crazy to play them as an 8 seed. Chicago, Rondo scares me a little bit just because it's Boston and national TV, all that stuff. But I just don't think Chicago's very good. And, you know, Toronto was the team I was the most worried about. And Toronto plays Cleveland in round 2, which was a break. So I don't know. I don't think any of these teams are very good. I really think like anybody can beat anybody.
Well, say it's the Cavs and the Celtics. Do you think the Celtics have what it takes to beat the Cavs this year?
I think the Cavs would have to beat themselves to a large degree, but they're not very good defensively, and they have a lot of miles from the last couple of years. They're not a very good bench. The Celtics have played them really well up until last week when LeBron just killed them. But they match up pretty well against them for the most part, and they'd have home court. And I think when you talk about I sound like a homer saying this, but I really do think Boston has the most important, influential home crowd that can really push the team and drag just an extra something out of it. Golden State's good too. There's some good crowds, but I'm riding with Boston. It's just great. It's great from the first half hour before the game all the way through. The intensity never goes away unless, you know, you have a situation like in 2012 when LeBron was just killing them. But other than that, like, it's just a great crowd, and I think it's a huge advantage.
Okay, so while we're talking about the NBA, you had this column come out today. Now, we were waiting all year to see who you would pick as the MVP, and it turns out that you think Russell Westbrook will be the 2017 MVP, but
I'm not picking him.
But you're not picking him. You're picking James Harden. Now, what made you arrive at that decision?
Well, I arrived at it by changing my mind 17 times over the last 5 days. But I just think the case for Westbrook, if you strip away the triple-doubles and you strip away the performance art aspect of it, is that they won 47 games and they had the 17th best offense in the league, and his stats were basically the same as Harden's. You know, I think Harden was like 29, 11, and 8. Westbrook was 32, 11, and 10. But Harden's offense was like historically great. They were one of the best 10 offenses in the league ever since they started measuring offensive rating, I think in like 74. And OKC's average, their offense was average. So I get the triple doubles; they were amazing, but I don't think you give somebody the MVP just for that. But I also see the Westbrook case because 10 years from now, we're going to remember the year for Westbrook first, and that matters too. You think like 2017, what happened? Oh, Westbrook had the triple doubles. Like, that's significant. So I think either choice defensible, and I think Kawhi was defensible.
Yeah, you said during the panel that it took you 3 days to write this column. So did you waver during that time?
I did. I left the last 700 words empty to decide what to do, and then wrote that yesterday. And then as I talked myself into it, I was writing it. By the end of it, I was like, yeah, it's James Harden.